Beignets on set right now, I'll tell you that. Inside the Mercedes-Benz Superdome 25 years ago, Alabama won a national championship, aided by a tough wide receiver by the name of Dabo Swinney. Got a little roots in the rivalry, and certainly in this city. It is media day for the All-State Sugar Bowl. Alabama will go first, followed by Clemson later this morning. Kevin Negandhi down there anchoring our coverage in the Big Easy.
RD, thank you so much. We got beignets all day here. Booker McFarland, Kevin Negandhi with you. And you mentioned we got the old and familiar for Alabama. They've been here before, especially Nick Saban. New territory for Kelly Bryant and company. We'll hear from Clemson at 10:15 Eastern here. Let's talk a little bit about pressure because it's gone back and forth. Yeah. This is the trilogy. This is the rematch of the rematch. But when you look at Alabama, they've been favored in 110 of their last 111 games. They're favored coming into this. Who's under more pressure coming into this game, Clemson or Alabama?
Well, I think it's Clemson. I think when you're Alabama, when you won 5 national championships like Nick Saban has, 4 at Alabama, I think you don't have any pressure. But if you're Clemson, you've been the consensus favorite by the committee all year. They got 10 top 40 wins. They're 10-0. But I think when you come into this game, it's a different mindset. The last couple of times, they've been the underdog. They've been fighting and clawing and trying to get to the top of that mountaintop. Now they're there. They've been the best team all season. I think they're under pressure in this game.
It's weird to see Alabama not under that pressure, right?
Alabama kind of playing the underdog card.
Yeah, that is wild, even though they're favored by a field goal right now. And the big question is what kind of Nick Saban we're going to see during media day. Right now, we're getting complimentary, Nick.
Well, first of all, I think Dabo does a fantastic job with his team. He's got a really good coaching staff. I think they're very innovative in some of the things that they do offensively, which makes it very hard for them to defend. I think they do a very good job of utilizing the personnel that they have. You know, on offense, they're very talented. On defense, create a lot of problems for you, very aggressive in how they play. They've got some really good players, but those players play extremely well. And, you know, they're very solid on special teams and everything they do. So when you look at their team, it's hard to find a lot of weaknesses in terms of what they do and how they do it and the consistency that they do it with. So, you know, I just think this is a really good program, very well coached. I think Dabo has, you know, great leadership in terms of how people respond to him, and you can tell that by the way his team plays.
Hey, Nick, Barrett Sallee, CBS. When you see Clemson this year on tape, what stands out about their wide receiver, specifically Hunter Renfrow?
Well, Hunter Renfrow is, you know, a pain in the you-know-what in terms of nothing different from last year to this year. You know, the guy's very quick, very instinctive as a player, knows how to get open, makes the right decisions, really kind of a go-to guy for them on third down, especially in the third and, you know, 4 to 6, 7 range. So very, very crafty, very quick, but very smart in terms of how he plays. And he's been really a consistent, effective player for them. And I think, you know, when I made the statement earlier about how they utilize their personnel, they take, to me, receiver corps is a little bit like a basketball team. You know, you got to have a point guard, you got to have a shooting guard, you got to have a power forward. And I think that's one of the things that they do really well with their wide receiver corps in terms of how they utilize their guys. And they utilize him extremely well, and he's very effective in how he does what they ask him to do.
Nick Saban this morning, media day. He's won 5 national titles as a head coach, 4 with Alabama, 1 with LSU. 5 titles are as many as all other active FBS head coaches combined, and 1 shy of matching Bear Bryant, most in the poll era. Meanwhile, Jalen Hurts will face a Clemson starting D where all 11 starters saw time in last year's title game. Here's the quarterback for Alabama.
Well, I think they have a lot of speed, a lot of strength, and a lot of length. They're all capable of making plays, and they wreak havoc for the quarterback when, you know, you don't do what you're supposed to do offensively. So I think we have to execute and do really good up front.
Who stands out to you on film?
I think they all do a good job.
It's been a tough few weeks for you guys, knowing trying to just get back on the field and play an actual game, because the last time you guys stepped on the field, it was a loss to your favorite rival.
Well, I mean, we have to bounce back. Have to be able to learn from it. Take it and learn from it, and hopefully overcome.
Jalen Hurts this morning, he's won 13 starts as a true freshman last season, followed it up with 11 so far in 2017. 24 total wins over that same time frame, the most by any starting quarterback in the FBS. Much more here on Media Day. Here's Holly Rowe with Damian Harris.
Alabama running back Damian Harris. And as I look at the stats and try to break down stuff for this game, one of the things that stands out to me is, Calvin Ridley has 55 receptions. Next closest guy is a running back in Bo Scarborough with, I think, 14 or 15. So who has to step up for you guys offensively and be the other threat? I did notice in practice you were looking pretty good in that screen game.
We got a lot of guys that make plays at all positions. So our job as an offense is to get the ball in the hands of our best playmakers. So, it's going to be interesting to see how we distribute the ball. We know that Coach Dable has a great offensive game plan for us to be, successful in this game. So we're confident that he'll do whatever it takes to put us in the best position to be successful on Monday.
There's this old saying that I think I made up that when you tempo a tempo team, they don't like it. Clemson goes fast. And I did notice you guys ran some tempo against Auburn. Can Alabama really be a tempo team and kind of take it to them?
I mean, I think we can. And, that's something that we've been working on. We've been working on a lot of things. So we're just trying to give them a lot of different things that can give them matchup problems, tempo problems, just things that can give us an advantage come Monday. So, we're looking forward to the challenge.
It's such an unusual thing where this is a trilogy. I was trying to think of other great trilogies. So I've come up, my favorite trilogies are Star Wars and Die Hard. So what is your favorite trilogy?
Favorite trilogy? I don't know if I have one. Maybe the Transformers series, maybe something like that. I always love the Transformers movies, so that might be my favorite one.
Okay, so I think Transformers and Lord of the Rings, those are good ones, because if you transform this offense, you could be Lord of the Rings. What do you think about that?
I think that's a very good analogy. Hopefully we will be.
I love that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Holly, thank you so much. We won't bring up Star Wars here with this young man because he's yet to see one Star Wars. I'm going to buy you some tickets.
They've made 10 of them. I don't see all of them. Come on.
Booger McFarland, Kevin Nagandi here with you as we continue Alabama's Media Day. Damian talked a little bit about matchup problems. When you look at that backfield, you see Bo Scarborough as well. What do you see as a defensive player when it comes to this matchup?
Well, I think the best running back is Damian Harris. He's a guy who's versatile. He can catch the football, and he can take it to the house. But if you remember last year's championship game when Alabama and Clemson played, Bo Scarborough, remember the runs he had, the bruising, the physicality. Clemson was almost afraid. Then Scarborough breaks his leg, and it seemed like the momentum turned. I think when you look at the game on Monday night, look for a heavy dose of Bo Scarborough, even though Damian Harris is their best running back.
You mentioned Clemson was a little hesitant. You don't think they're going to be hesitant? This is a different defense, that front four.
It's a different defense. But Bo Scarborough, you got to make a business decision. He's about 6 foot, about 250 pounds, and he's coming downhill. You don't want to get in front of that man.
I don't want to get in front of that man. We'll see if Clemson will get in front of that man. We'll hear from Clemson, of course, during the 10 o'clock Eastern hour as they get ready for Media Day. They are the reigning national champs. We are here from the All-State Sugar Bowl. Much more ahead.
I know Boog's a young guy. How does he not see Star Wars?
He's never seen.
He's never seen Star Wars.
Any Star Wars?
No. Great stuff on the Clemson-Alabama game, but I got to go back to Star Wars.
Yeah. Have you seen the new one yet?
Yeah, I already saw the new one.
I haven't seen the new one yet.
Yeah,
Me neither. Don't screw it up.
Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah,
In front of
course,
the
exactly.
Can't believe
Darth Vader.
Have you seen all the Star Wars? No. Okay. Well, I'm gonna confess something here as I take us completely off track.
No
I
way.
didn't see any Star Wars until I was an adult because I thought it was just science fiction.
Okay.
But it's not. Booger. Good versus evil, the power. There's a bigger moral picture here to watching Star Wars, so you should go watch.
Yeah, I think if you're like late 30s to like 50, almost impossible.
I was a huge Star
to
Wars
not. It's like
fan.
it's like being
I
an
look
NFL
forward to
fan in that era. either like the Steelers or the Cowboys.
Exactly right.
And if it weren't in that lane, you're kind of going against the grain.
I know.
But, for a long time, Alabama has been viewed as the evil empire, of college football. But if Clemson were to win this game, and look, Alabama's had trouble in the Sugar Bowl, not the BCS championship game against LSU, but they've lost their last 3 Sugar Bowl appearances.
Yeah.
Does Clemson take the reign as the new evil empire or evil empire, the power of the sport?
I think so. I think they're setting a foundation where you can present that argument. When you look at what they've done, I mean, if they beat Alabama and get to the national championship, if they win the national championship game too, that's 2 out of the last 3 years. And it's not only about winning the national championship and getting there, it's about who you beat to get there. So now Alabama's like the dynasty. That's, the evil empire. That's the dynasty right now. If you're going to dethrone anybody, it's not like they're playing some team that you don't have a lot of respect. They went toe-to-toe with Alabama 2 years ago, lost that championship game, returned a year ago, beat Alabama. And if they beat them again now, I think there's a changing of the guard, so to speak.
3 years.
Yeah,
41
3 years.
If they win these next two national championships, easily could have won going back to even the third one to be what? I think Bear said 41-3 in these last 3 years. I think as far as stats are concerned, you would be able to crown them and say, hey, look, there's a new kind of bar that's been raised, and it's now the Clemson Tigers. I've been looking at Clemson, I think we all have, for really the last 6 or 7 years as a program that's been a top 3 or top 4 program. But if you beat Alabama and you win the trilogy and they go on to beat whoever wins this one, man, I think there may be a new champ out there.
Alabama needs a win offensively. I'm going to tell you this. There were a lot exciting in last year, but this year they're sound. They've only had 4 turnovers, lead the nation, and they have committed 19 last year. So that means Clemson has to earn every point they get this year because Alabama will not turn the ball over.
I think one of the things that's really interesting in terms of building the program and the stability, Alabama comes into the postseason, 3rd straight year, dealing with coordinator change.
That's true.
Clemson has barely had any staff changes at all, let alone dealing with one in the playoffs. So that's helped them a little bit too, I think.
Don't you your question to Des about kind of the Darth Vader or the kind of the bad guy or the villain? Right. We all know Nick and love him because we see maybe a different side of him. But I think the fans out there that aren't Alabama fans, they all want to get after guys like Nick Saban and Urban Meyer. I don't know if Dabo has that in him. I don't think Dabo is that guy. I don't think Clemson's that program. So even if they win these next 2, we can look at the numbers and say, wow, they're now maybe the new champ. But I don't think they become the villain. I think people enjoy hating Alabama and Nick Saban and Ohio State and Urban Meyer.
Because of Dabo's personality.
Right.
He's a guy, he's folksy, he's fun, he's going to dance with his players. Listen, if you get a smile out of Nick Saban, you damn near pass out. You know what I mean?
And the fact that Nick has won 5 national championships.
Exactly.
Dabo won.
So far.
On his way.
So far. It's a long way to go.
Exactly.
Bama's been doing this since really 08. I mean, they've been elite
dynasty.
Think about that.
I want to be clear about this too. None of us are saying that if Clemson wins a game, wins a championship, Alabama's suddenly not good. No. Anymore, we're just saying, is there a new standard bearer? And to your point, I agree with you on Dabo's personality.
Yeah.
You let him hoist a couple more of those trophies, and there'll be some good old-fashioned disdain. For him. Let him roll up about 3 or 4 of those babies.
Let's
see what happens.
That's true.